Hey everyone, welcome to Ann David Limited Presents. We do apologize for starting a little late. We are having a bit of technical difficulties, but we are here and we are ready to go. My name is David, of course.
And I'm Lauren Ann from Ann David Limited. And we are a company that strives to educate the masses on financial literacy. We want to help you guys to learn how to save more, how to invest more, how to pay off debt, and how to just build overall wealth and maintain that. So, today's topic, in honor of Valentine's, is finding love in what you do. And we are really excited because we feel like we have the perfect guest to speak on this topic, none other than Dazzy the Demi. And if you don't know who she is, you know clearly been hiding under a rock. We're so excited to have her because she's well versed on this topic. So, Dazzy, if you don't mind introducing yourself first for those who might not know you.
Thank you. Basically, what I do in a nutshell is help individuals and companies to find their true voice and to do what it is that they love and actually profit from it. So I'm super excited about today's topic and to speak on this because I believe that this is something we kind of all innately want to do, but don't always know the pathway. So in a nutshell, I'm a brand coach, certified internet marketer, and also, I do a little bit of radio from time to time.
Very modest, Dazzy.
Very much.
A little.
So, Dazzy, we just want to jump straight into it. What are some of the reasons why people choose the wrong career path?
So choosing a career path is never usually what it is we want to do. A lot of times it's our family expectations. A friend of mine, she Googled in high school, well, not high school, because obviously Google was in its infancy, but she kind of went and got a career based on what made a lot of money. And a lot of external factors kind of, persuade us on what we should choose. So a lot of times we end up choosing something that we would have never said if you asked us when we were 10 years old, what is it we wanted to be when we grow up? And so a lot of it just comes from external pressure, or maybe a teacher made a recommendation, or based on the grades you have and the college that you could get into. Or sometimes it's just the unfulfilled dreams of your parents, right? They're like, you're going to be a doctor, because I always wanted to be one. So you're going to go ahead and do that. So ending up in the wrong career is very easy because in a lot of cases, it's just due to external expectations and pressure and not really what we truly want to do or what we're truly passionate about.
Okay, so I guess I'm pretty sure there's many people in this situation. I'm pretty sure the average person, and in this case, the average Bahamian, is probably in this kind of position.
Mhm.
So if they are, at a, say for example, a desk job that they don't particularly care for, they have a passion or maybe a particular talent, how can they, I guess, what's the process for deciding how can I find what I really want to do and then taking the steps to do that?
Okay, so that's a very good question. And that answer varies also depending on your personal situation. So whether or not, you need this quote unquote desk job or 9 to 5 to pay your overhead bills, whether you have like a family that depends on you. So that's a very unique pathway for everybody. However, I can say a big part of it is just actually identifying what it is that you actually want to do, because believe it or not, a lot of times when you can be in the wrong career path or you feel that what you're doing is not a good fit. But if someone asks you, well, what would be your dream job or your dream career? A lot of people actually don't have an answer for that. They would have to think about it, or they have a list. Well, I like to do this, this, and this, right? And so the path to actually making it, make money or transition out of what it is that you do and what it is you want to do first starts, I would say, with just identifying that very clearly. And that could take a little bit of exploration. You may have to do a personality test quiz. You may have to ask some persons, what is it that I'm good at? Because I always recommend to my clients that you find out what people think you're good at, what you get paid to do, and then things you love to do. So if you put those three lists together, in a lot of cases, you will come up with a list of things that will overlap. And that's a good place to start.
Okay, Dazzle, can you repeat those three questions? I guess for people who didn't quite
Yeah,
catch that, if they could write down, I
sure.
think you said the things that they love to do,
Yeah,
things that
things.
they would be paid to do, or if you could just
Yeah.
revise those. Yeah.
Correct. So the list that helps you to eliminate this process or to narrow down what it is you truly want to do in a lot of cases, the first list is things that you love to do. So that would be
Mhm.
like your hobbies and things that people ask your advice on for free. Something that you're paid to do, which could be like a former job, any sort of income, or if you did something and someone tipped you, right? So you're looking at the things you like to do, the things that you would have gotten paid for. And then the third one is the things that other people say that you're good at, or say, you know, you should really make this a career, right? Or why don't you do this? And these are often, that particular list there is often things that we don't recognize in ourselves because they just come so naturally. So that list is extremely important. So if you're writing this down, the first one is the things that you like to do, hobbies, the things that you have been paid to do in the past, no matter what it is, and then the things that people say you should do or people ask your advice on. And that's a very good foundation to start. You'll sometimes you see certain trends that overlap the three of those lists, and that's, like I say, an excellent starting point.
Dazi,
Okay.
you also mentioned a personality test.
Yeah,
Is there a particular personality test you should take? I know there are many, but
yeah.
is there one in particular you would recommend an individual to take?
Yeah, so there are many different kinds depending on, which mode of, um, professional you ask. But in my opinion, and based on what I've studied and been certified in, I always recommend the Myers-Briggs personality test. And so there's 16 personalities in total, and it is said that everybody falls within the spectrum of one of those 16. So a quick free test to just kind of get an outline and to start that exploration because there's so much information about it. Once you start identifying, what that is, would be 16personalities.com. Actually doing that test and getting your results and kind of reading, what the results say. But definitely starting to understand yourself is a big part of this whole process and exploration because it'll make you understand why you're drawn to certain careers or why you dream about doing certain things or why you dream about doing certain things and then you feel like you won't be good at it. So it'll kind of unlock a lot of secrets just about you and your personality type and how you experience the world, and that again goes a long way into figuring out what your path is going to be or supposed to be.
So both Lauren and I just recently took the test,
And
16
almost had a
personalities.
panic attack.
Yeah, and it was very interesting because it was very accurate in terms of our characteristics, and it gives a
Yeah,
really good breakdown of all of your strong points, your strengths, your weaknesses, and we just found it very
yeah,
interesting that it was
yeah,
almost spot on. I think for me personally,
yeah,
there are a few things a bit off, but for the most
yeah.
part, it was extremely accurate. And Lauren, I don't
Yeah,
know if you
for
could speak to your
me,
personal
when I
experience.
read my personality, for me everything was spot on, kind of scary spot on. The strengths, the weaknesses. And what I liked about it,
Yeah,
the website 16personalities.com, it is
yeah,
super detailed, and I went straight to the weaknesses portion. And it was good to see exactly what are my weaknesses because now I know what I need to improve on. So just
yes,
because your personality might have certain weaknesses that you're not comfortable with, aka me,
yeah,
I almost had a panic attack, like I said. Now I know exactly what I need to work on. So
yes,
um, what can help me and what I'm doing now and those who are going to take this test. So it was pretty cool. I actually really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, and even just the career paths, they make recommendations in terms of career paths based
Yeah,
on
yeah.
your characteristic, and
yeah,
so that I found that very interesting, considering the career that I'm in now and the recommendations they actually
oh,
made.
Completely
It was
different.
completely different.
Yeah,
So
actually.
I found
Well,
that very
well,
interesting.
different from your 9 to 5. Not
Exactly,
what you're
from
doing
my
now.
9 to 5, exactly.
Yeah,
So that was
yeah.
interesting as well. And
We were actually discussing, for example, I rated high on introversion. So I was explaining to David that, just because I'm very high in introversion, it doesn't mean that you can't learn to be extroverted when it is called to be. But I will always naturally be an introvert. But when I see it is advantageous in this instant to be an extrovert, I can learn how to do so and strengthen my weaknesses. So that's really cool. I suggest everyone take it. It's super funny. And just to get those, sorry, Daphne.
No, it's okay. I was saying that should not be underestimated ever, because you'd be surprised at how many things you find in that expiration, and people may give you grief about or complain about, and it gives you a sense of freedom as well to say, well, okay, this is me, this is my personality type. Not like you said that you can't change it or improve upon it, but just to kind of understand and accept yourself, and so that goes a long way in just the path of exploration that you're about to take. Because today's topic, finding love in what you do, you may go on and you may find that your 9 to 5, like you say, may not be on the spectrum of your personality type. And what do you do about that? So I'm excited to explore that part of it as well, because what do you do? For everybody, they just can't pick up and say, well, okay, it's been good, thank you so much for the opportunity, and then you just kind of flit off and do whatever it is you want to do. A lot of us, we have obligations and families and things like that, so you have to use prudence in how you just go from one step to the next. So that will give you a lot of insight, and it'll also answer a lot of questions you have as well.
Yeah. So what is the next step? You go through this whole self-discovery process of writing down your strengths, your weaknesses, taking personality tests, asking people who know you very well. And now you have this list, you have this information in front of you. What's the next step someone should take once they have all of this in their hands now?
Okay.
Hi, Dazi. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So the next step is, once you exploration and you come to a decision, you're like, okay, so I'm supposed to be doing this. I don't like what I'm doing. I'm supposed to be on this pathway. The next thing to do is for you to decide how you're going to transition. Am I going to do this part-time? Is this something that I want to learn more about doing? If it's some element that is completely opposite of what you're doing, how are you going to move forward? So the next step is just making a decision to say that you're actually going to go for it and try to go ahead and live your dreams, but how you're going to actually let this process happen. So again, that's individual based on your unique circumstance. If you have the luxury and the savings to go ahead and completely just walk away, that is very rare. But for most of us, you have to find love in what it is that you do. So you have to incorporate elements of what you would like to do into your existing job. And if you can't do that, then you possibly may need to start something part-time, part-time business, work somewhere part-time. There was a lady that I worked with a couple of years ago. She told me, I remember one time we were on like a lunch break, and she says, oh, I really don't like this job, but this job funds my hobbies, right? So for her, even though she didn't love what she did directly, she loved the income that allowed her to fund, the other things that she loved to do. So for her, she had no reason to leave. She was working at the company for 20 something years, and she couldn't see herself going anywhere. So the next step is to make a decision. Once you decide, all right, let me see, something that's completely opposite. I'm an accountant, and I really want to be a YouTube vlogger, right?
Complete opposites.
Or a fashion vlogger, right? Then you need to decide, okay, either I'm going to start a fashion vlog part-time, or I'm going to talk about accounting in fashion and incorporate that somehow. So the next step is just to make a decision on how you're going to incorporate what you would love to do into what you do existing, so you could find love in both. And a lot of times, we may realize that what we're doing just needs to be looked at in a different perspective. and what you do is actually fine for your lifestyle. So it's all about the exploration and making a decision on what you're going to do. I don't recommend doing anything rash, walking in, kind of slamming your, bag on the desk and quick walking off.
Yeah.
I do not recommend that.
Mhm.
Right? I do
Yes.
not. So it's just a matter of deciding how you're going to proceed. And for most of us, it's just going to be part-time, and that's okay.
Mhm.
And deciding how much energy you're going to expend into that. So I think making a decision is going to be the second step.
Mhm. And it's interesting because I think this is the hardest part of the
Okay,
process.
you're breaking up just a little
Oh,
bit.
sorry, Dazzy. Dazzy, can you hear us now? Oh, I think we lost Dazzy just now.
Yeah. Let's see if we can
And
get
so,
her back. In the meantime, David, you can say your point.
yeah, so we are having difficulties again. I think it's one of those days. But if you're just tuning in, we are talking about finding love in what you do. And we have the guest, Dazzy, the Demi, on. She's back on now. And let's. Okay, there we go. We are back on. And
Got her.
okay, Dazzy, what can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear you?
Okay, what I was saying is that this the first step, obviously, finding out your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
The second step now, actually doing it and going about trying to enter into this new career path. I was saying that this is probably the hardest part of the process because on the one hand, you have the few people who are afraid to take that next step. On the other hand, you have the persons who are not necessarily afraid to take the next step, but they want it to happen instantaneously. And so it's such a difficult process with a lot of emotions going on, and I just find it to be a very interesting, I guess, part of the process.
Yeah, so the third step, that brings us to the third step, which is actually commit and take action, right? And this undoubtedly is the hard step, the hardest step of all, because we can get lost in being busy, researching cameras, researching, microphones, researching lighting. If you're going to do something, internet based, or if it's some sort of hobby, researching equipment, researching clothes that you may need. And a lot of times you just need to start. That's it, right? And everything else will kind of happen naturally. So if there's no action, then you're kind of in a stage where you're just kind of fooling yourself. So in a lot of cases, if you find yourself procrastinating, that has emotional roots or emotional tethers that you may not have explored. So, for example, let's just say, let me use an example, the accountant, right, that wants to be a fashion blogger. She may say, well, I don't have the right types of clothes, right? Very valid excuse, right? So I always say, that's your excuse. Now, what are you going to do? Your excuses are valid. Now, what are you going to do? So if you don't have the right type of clothes, for example, if she wants to be a fashion blogger, then she may need to do videos in a clothing store that have the kind of clothes that she would actually like to purchase, right? Or she may need to do content based around, if she had a wish list and a Visa card with $10,000 on it, this is what I would purchase. So in a lot of cases, we're just not being creative enough, right? We just need to be creative and we need to take action. And that's really all it boils down to. Everything else is just an excuse, because I have a friend that started doing what he's doing full time now, and he started with an Alcatel cell phone. Like, it wasn't even a great cell phone, and you would see the comments from these the early footage that he did, and people would actually make comments and say how terrible it was. But when you start, you build momentum, and that's how you gain confidence. Confidence does not come from researching it, from watching other people's content, from thinking about it, calling your friends and saying, what I'm going to do. You have to actually start. And so that is the third stage, which is to commit and to actually take action. And that is undoubtedly the hardest. For a lot of people, you're going to need a coach. You're going to need a mentor of some sort. It's going to be a lot of psychological barriers that feel very valid. Well, I'm a behind the scenes person. I don't.
Yeah.
You know, so there's all sorts of excuses. Believe it or not, for years, basically all of my 20s, I was a behind the scenes person. I'm
Mm.
actually an introvert,
That's
right?
very hard to believe, right?
I know,
Right.
I know. But people
Yeah.
who know me, in fact, when I was at the mall today, working on a show for electric vehicles, that was interesting. There was a lady that came up to me and she goes, I remember you. She says,
Mm.
I can't believe that you've grown so much, right? Because she says,
Mhm.
I remember you. She says, I really, really remember how shy you were and et cetera, et cetera. And
Mhm.
so it just goes to show you that, you know, it's just a matter of being determined. Every single skill you want to develop, there is somewhere you can learn it. And that's what I think we have to always remember. So there's nothing that is impossible. It's just our willingness to open our minds, to apply ourselves, to have the courage to take action. You always hear people say, oh, it takes money to make money. It does not take money to make money.
Mhm.
I think it's Mark Cuban who says that. One of those guys say it, right? A billionaire. But they say it takes creativity and it takes action to
I
make
like
money,
that.
right? And so I quite like that because, you know, everybody doesn't always have money to start, but you may have
Correct.
creativity, you may have, you know, the ability to persuade people to kind of go ahead and join in on your idea. So we all have something that we could start with. And I think to me, that's the main thing that I want everyone to take away from today and understand is that, you know, you are enough. You have enough at your disposal. If you have a smartphone, there's usually nothing that you cannot do without that. And if
Right.
you don't have the resources, you know people who may have them. And so that all requires you just coming out of your comfort zone, being creative, and just taking action and kind of putting yourself out there. And before long, you will find love either in what you do during the day that exists, because that may evolve and open some doors. That accountant who does fashion blogging, her senior partner may come to her and say, well, since you like the camera so much, why don't you go ahead and start to create, you know, a learning series for our firm,
Right. Yes.
example, right? Or so you're developing and building these skills that are going to turn into a personal brand for you. And so it's never a bad idea to explore what it is you want to do outside of what your 9 to 5 is. And you may find that at the end of the day, you actually find love in it. You know, you may
Mhm.
decide that you don't need to start a whole career. You like it as a hobby or you like it being part-time. And it can expand the role that you have existing. I have another client, she was working behind a desk in a firm and she wanted to be in their media department. And every time she tried to transfer, they told her no. They said, oh,
Mm.
you don't have any experience. So she started her own little part time thing on the side. And then the CEO came to her and said, why don't you apply to media? You're doing this part time. She says, when I tried, you said no. And
Yes.
so now that's the department she works in today. But it came for her taking an initiative and not waiting for
Mhm.
someone to give you an opportunity. You know,
Mhm.
not waiting for someone to just hand these things to you, for you to kind of go out and take action and do it yourself. I got on the radio from showing up and showing up and showing up. You know, it wasn't, I didn't put in an application, and the invitation was extended by me putting myself out there in
Mhm.
another conversation. So you never know what can happen from just taking initiative and taking action. And your excuses are valid, but
Mhm.
now what are you going to do?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to touch up on another
Yeah,
question. Okay.
yeah. I mean, if I'm too far off, then let me know. You want to do your
Mhm.
question first. But I was gonna say, Dazzy, for those people who, for example, have a spouse, have children, they have like a lot going on. I guess can you recommend any practical tips that they can use for time management? Because if they do start something
Mm.
part time, whether it be a hobby or for an actual income, they will have to better learn time management, especially with 9 to 5, what spouse, kids, whatever else. How can they maneuver that?
So that is a good question because that is one of the best excuses that everybody has, and that is socially acceptable. You know, you don't call someone back, oh, I was so busy. I'm so sorry. That's acceptable, right? Oh, sorry, I couldn't come. I was just so busy, you know. And so that is always a socially acceptable excuse. But it's still in a lot of cases an excuse. So time management, I recommend for practicality is to use sometimes the tools you already have. Use your Google Calendar, for example,
Mhm.
right? Your Google Calendar is there. It's at your fingertips. It has the ability for you to schedule things. You can plan in advance for things you need to do. So, for example, if you are, let's just say you're working, you're managing a household, you're juggling 10 different things, your schedule needs to be so on point, right?
Hmm.
So that you don't like drop the ball in these things. But you're gonna have to schedule it in. You may have to request assistance from, a spouse or a family friend for babysitting if you need it. Or you may need to just incorporate your kids in the hobby if it's possible, if you're doing it. So you have to definitely be creative, but definitely scheduling I would say is number one. And I definitely recommend Google Calendar because everybody tends to have Gmail on their phone. So
Hmm.
that is a very good free tool. And you can set reminders, a day in advance, a week in advance, and you just schedule it in and schedule everything else in from shopping in the food store to, beauty rituals. You can schedule everything in. You can even schedule in the ability to watch a movie. Like my recent schedule.
Bridgerton.
Yeah. So you
Oh
tick
God.
that off, right?
Right.
But what is in my schedule, right? So I know probably March 12th, I'm going to get to it. So yeah, schedule everything. It doesn't matter. You don't have to talk about it to anyone if they're going to judge you about it, but just schedule every single thing in as much as possible. And that can help to show you also how much time you waste.
Hmm.
Another part of time management is to kind of just get off of social media.
Hmm.
You'd be
Yeah.
surprised how much time mindless scrolling we do. And we
Right.
don't realize you can easily sink 4 hours on TikTok. Easily
Right. Yeah.
because it's so visually stimulating and it's so much dopamine after dopamine hit with just the
Hmm.
videos and the content coming at you so fast. So our brains are not really equipped to fight against social media. And a lot of times, if you look at your social media usage, which a lot of phones actually record it, you'll see that you wasted, an hour, 2 hours. Stop arguing with people online. You
Hmm.
may have friends that call you to vent constantly. You may just need to give them the number for a therapist. Like there's different things that you probably do. David laughing. There's things that you probably need to do to free up some time. There's some
Right.
obligations that you probably need to let go of. There's probably
Mhm.
some free labor that's happening. So it's just a matter of getting your schedule together and committing that you'll take action and not letting time be an excuse. Because let me tell you, the time is going to pass. It's
Mhm.
going to
Mhm.
pass. That is
Yeah.
one thing that does not wait, and you don't know how much time you have
Mhm.
and future plans they just may never happen. So the best
Yeah.
time to actually start today. And if you
Yes.
if you have if you realize that you're struggling with procrastination and putting things off, you may need to invest in a coach. If you just
Mhm.
can't make yourself do the things that you know you need to make, or you hit a wall, you may need to invest in a coach. And if you cannot invest in a coach, you may need, to purchase books around these topics, right? Because that's another almost free way for you to go ahead and get some development. So it's all about the personal development and the commitment. But if you
Mhm.
find yourself stalling along the way, seek help because that is going to be the way that you can get dramatic leaps and gains over, what you thought you would progress to make because somebody is going to give you, all of their experience and kind of just pour it into a book or pour it into some sessions or see your blind spots or encourage you and be a cheerleader in the areas that you're weak in. So, yeah, scheduling and time management, that would be definitely high priority. Please focus on that. That could not be underestimated. And that is going to give you a lot more, opportunities to do what it is that you actually love to do.
I think that's really good advice because I'll say this for both Lauren and I. When we started this company, it was very difficult trying to manage our time with our full time jobs, which
Yes.
are very demanding and requires a lot of hours to be put in, and at the same time doing this. And so what we found we had to do was we had to wake up a bit earlier. So
Yeah.
instead of starting our day at
Oh,
six
yeah.
o'clock, we had to maybe wake up 5 o'clock
Yeah.
and utilize that extra hour
Oh,
in the
yeah.
morning so that we can do things and just prioritizing things like you said. And so
Correct.
dropping certain things and prioritizing what we were doing. And
Yeah.
so it's very difficult, but I always say if you want it and if you want to achieve the dream and achieve this goal and building this business, you have to put in 100%, no, 110%.
You do.
And
And it's difficult because you put 110 into your side hustle, but also give 110 to your
Exactly.
main job because that is what's paying the bills. That is what you're obligated because you signed the contract, the dotted line. So
Exactly.
it takes a lot of focus and determination if you really want it. But in the end, it will pan out if you keep the course.
And I don't think we underestimate too, the effect that our mindset has on everything that we do, and also just what you put in your body. So, for example, I know I had a client one time, and she was having the worst brain fog. So she says, she would wake up and she would just kill 2 hours, kind of, you know. And I have a scarf right here, so I'm going to show y'all. You know those TikTok videos where they show you with like the covers over your head walking, and you're just kind of like this is
Right.
the first hour of the day. That kind of way.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she was having that issue. She was like, I just have my covers kind of, and I'll just walk around the house for. And I said, so, okay, so you're having brain fog. So let's explore that. Could it be? I said, just Google it, see what you come up with. She called me back. She was like, I think I need to exercise again. I think I need to cut out this, this, and this. I think I need. So every problem that you have, there's nothing that's fixed, right? So she had to change her diet. She had to get rid of caffeine because she was addicted to it. And so when she didn't have it, it put her down. And she needed to improve her sleep. She realized that, the room needed to be colder. Like there's so many biohacks and just information out there to help you with what your mind blocks are. And also, when you wake up early in the morning, if you're still not motivated, you may need to listen to something positive. You may need to not listen to your coworkers vent and put in your headphones and just ignore them and go, yeah, excuse me, and can do what else it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So we are in control of, because everything starts here.
Mm-hmm.
If that is not in the right place, you will get nothing done. You will make no progress. You will see your life kind of just staying at the same place where it's always been. You'll find yourself repeating the same habits and loops. So the big part of it is your mindset, waking up, making sure you have something positive in you, filtering out excessive news watching all day. Unless you are a journalist, why are you doing it? You're going to know. People are going to tell you. WhatsApp is going to send it to you. If you're in groups that are negative or people that complain, then you may need to, limit your exposure to them. So we have to control our mindset and our state, because that is going to be the key to helping you to make progress. Unless that is in the right place, just is not a lot that can get done sometimes.
Wow. Good.
Yeah. So, Dazzy, what's the next step? I know that I'm seeing here there's some new people that just joined in. So, just to quickly kind of go over there's 4 steps we went over, and then now the next step, just to kind of summarize it very quickly and then move on to the next step in this process.
Yeah. So explore. You're going to want to explore. You're going to make your list that I talked about earlier in the show. What is it you love to do? What is it that people pay you for? What is it you love to do? What you get paid for? And the things that people recommend you do that you enjoy. You're going to put those in a list, look for the similarities, and then you're going to make a decision that you're going to incorporate more of what you do either in your existing job or you're going to do a hobby. And then you're going to take action and you're going to commit. So you're going to commit to doing it. You're going to take action. That includes controlling your mindset. That includes, controlling what it is that you take into your mind in terms of positivity. And it also includes time management that Lauren brought up. That's very important. Scheduling, making sure that's all in the right place, and then seeking help if you find yourself failing on one of those tiers. Then seeking external help, either getting a coach, a mentor, or in some cases, you may need to read a book that may have some different perspectives. But by all means, don't speak to anyone that has not done what you're trying to do, because they may mean well, but they may disappoint you or, discourage you from doing what you're doing.
That's interesting you said that, because I know that Lauren and I read the Ken Coleman book about the proximity principle and associating yourself with individuals who are doing what you want to do. And putting yourself in that environment. And in doing that, it helps in that process of getting you to where you want to be, because you're around those people who are doing what you want to do.
Yeah, definitely recommend that book. It's called The Proximity Principle by Ken Coleman.
Very good book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree 100%, because a lot of times we will kind of put certain things on a pedestal, and then when you get very close, you realize how achievable it is. So I remember before, I did radio, I had certain ideas about what it was like and what it would be and who the people are. And then when I got into it, I was like,
Hmm.
okay, you know, this is
That's
not
different.
as far as I thought it was. And it's just a matter of perspective. You know, I would bump into people and they would say, oh, I'm trying to get on radio and it's so hard. And I'm like, is it hard though? Because you can call into a show and there's some people you know that are just callers. They don't work
Mhm.
at the station. They don't get paid to do it, but you know their names, you know their ideas, you know
Yes.
their mindset,
Yes.
you know everything about them. You
Mhm.
suck your teeth when you hear them, you hear them say so much, right? But how did they do it? They took action. They used what they had. So they
Correct.
didn't have a platform. They didn't have access. They didn't have a key to swipe and get into the station. So what did they use? A phone. It's not hard to get the things that you want once you decide and you just take action. But
Mhm.
what that's where a lot of us fail in the action part.
Mm.
And so
Yes.
that's where the greatest growth is. And it's the scariest part too.
Yeah.
Admittedly, it's the scariest part, the action.
Mhm.
That's so good.
So, Dazzy, now that you've, I guess, figured out, you've taken these steps, what, in terms of someone who wants to make this a full-fledged thing, where to jump into it 100%, move from their 9 to 5, and now be in this thing, whatever it is, well, I, what are some of the things you need to consider before making that shift, I guess, to the
Yeah, so
full-time career now in the thing that you love doing?
yeah, so in making the shift, I don't recommend you be impulsive. I recommend that you actually what I call pack your parachute. So
Mm,
packing your parachute is whatever it is that you want to transition into, starting to make sure that's viable and that could actually pay your bills and make money. So in that process, you may find that there's some areas that you may miss, like sales skill and ability or the ability to get clients. So I recommend working out those kinks while you still have your 9 to 5 or whatever your main gig is before you go ahead and transition. But still set a goal that'll kind of keep you focused. So you may say, okay, I want to be done with what I'm doing in 12 months or 6 months. I
mm,
need to save this amount. I need to have these obligations paid up. So a big part of it is financial and also it's proof of concept, making sure that what it is that you want to do is not just an expensive hobby, but it actually brings in dollars and cents. The market responds to it well, people need it, you're able to deliver, all of those sort of things you're going to have to consider. And so packing your parachute is just basically starting to prepare to transition and not transitioning until it's viable,
mhm,
not just leaping off the ledge and building a bridge on the way down, because for a lot of people they just can't afford to do that. The repercussions are going to be devastating. But if you can, if you live at home, you don't pay any bills, you may not have anyone that depends on you, other than a dog or, a pet, then you may be in the position you can actually go ahead and leap and by all means do it. But don't leap and get stuck in that part. Try to make sure that every single month you are making progress, you're building on what it is that you want to do, and don't wait to monetize it. Go out there and charge. And if you have trouble charging, then you need a coach or you need to read some books. So there's all these different mind blocks that you're going to discover when you start to take action. But until you take action, that is going to be so fanciful and so pie in the sky. And, it's just not based in reality at all.
mhm,
Sometimes you have to switch niches and industries and all those things. So yeah, go ahead in terms of you want to go in full fledged, set a time frame that's good and get to
mhm.
work. Start to research, polish your skills, work on your personal development, your speaking ability, your sales ability, all of those things before you actually go ahead and put in that resignation letter.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then just before I guess we wrap up, that I guess the burning question, and you actually might have answered it. Um, should you pursue your passion or what you're good at? Because sometimes they're not the same. Sometimes they are, but other times they're not. So if you're in that category, in your opinion, I guess what should one do?
Yeah, so I see memes about this all the time, right? And it's always hilarious to me because a friend of mine just posted it the other day and it says something. Anyway, I won't, it's rude. I won't say it, but
Well, you can
Yeah,
send that to us.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
WhatsApp it to us.
I will. But basically, the meme is pretty much saying that what she wants to do, she may not be able to make money at it because it requires a certain level of physical strength to climb up certain things.
Okay.
Ah,
That's what she would love to do. Is she good at
Right.
it? No, no upper
Correct.
body
Yeah.
strength. You know, she likes to eat Doritos. So it's not practical for her, but is what she would love to do. So the two schools of thought, doing what you would love to do versus doing what you're good at. It all boils down to knowing yourself and knowing your personality type. Some people are very happy to keep things as hobbies and they want it to be in the hobby box and they don't want to have to charge for it because it's going to make them angry. There's a friend of mine who's an artist and he will not sell his work because he gets offended if someone offers him less than what he thinks. So it's too personal. It's just a hobby. He will gift them to family. And I think that that's great. And then you have somebody who, you know, is comfortable turning what they love into actually money and monetizing it. So it just depends on your personality type and knowing yourself and kind of exploring that and coming to a decision based on what you want to do. And it doesn't hurt to try it. You can always shut it down. You can always change your mind. But taking action sometimes gives you a better idea on which path you should follow. But no path is wrong. They're just different based on your personality type. If you know anything about Myers-Briggs and you're more of a sensory thinker, you may prefer your work to be just your work. And if you're more an intuitive and, you know, feeling based and introverted, you may enjoy following your passion, waking up every day and doing something you're passionate about. So again, there's no wrong path. That all depends on your personality type, knowing yourself and what it is that you want to structure your life like. That's all it is.
Okay. Well, that's good to know because I feel like a lot of people might feel that one is better than the other because human nature is to make one choice better than the other.
Yeah.
And so if, like as you said, if you want that to remain your hobby, keep it a hobby. If you wanted to, you know, pay bills, well then take the steps you need to do that. So um, that's good. And I also have one book that I wouldn't mind recommending to everyone. My brother actually recommended this to me, and I started reading it. Need to finish. But it's called "So Good They Can't Ignore You: Why Skills Trump Passion in the Quest for Work You Love" by Cal Newport. And that's, of course, on the school of thought of following doing what you're good at instead of what you're passionate about. But it's just a good perspective because I feel like in mainstream, the favorable view is follow your passion. You don't have much people saying, you know what, maybe you should explore following what you're good at.
Because it's so
And yeah,
romantic.
yeah, it's very romantic, very fanciful,
Follow
and
your
it's,
passion.
you know, and if that's for you, fine. But I think exploring both trains of thought before you make your final decision, I think that's very important. So, good book in case anyone wants to have a good read about that. Um,
And also, I just want to say too, it depends on the stage of life you're in.
Right.
So sometimes you can do what you're good at, and you may not love it, you may hate it, but you're good at it, and you get highly paid for it. Because there are a lot of careers that are like that. And then you may decide in a second stage of life or a different stage, you know, you may transition into being a work at home mom, or you may retire, or you may have a business that the employees can now run. You may be able to transition into doing more of what it is that you actually love to do. So that also depends on where you are in life and, you know, how you approach that. So I think they say now in today's world, most of us are going to change careers. I think it's 5 times,
Wow.
even if there's subtle nuances in, you know, you getting um in terms of you getting promoted and you changing job role. You may be a frontline worker and you may turn into a manager. That's a different skill set, very different thing. So, you know, it's good to have an open mind and to kind of explore that, but keep in mind that that can change. You're not fixed anywhere. You're not a tree. You can, you know, move, you can start over, you can do what it is that you want to do at the time when you want to or need to do it. So that's very flexible.
Yeah. Yeah. Understanding that life is a marathon, right?
Oh yeah.
And so there will be changes
Oh
and
yeah.
throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
And that's not to say you'll be stagnant at all. There will be
Yeah.
you'll evolve over time. And
Yeah.
so that's so important.
Correct. Look at Bernie, feel the burn, right? So he doesn't
there you go.
like being a meme, but he keeps turning into one. And so he monetized it, right? But he's not going to
Brilliant.
quit what he's doing, but he incorporated it into doing, he did what he loved to do. He found love in what he does by incorporating external things into it. And so it just requires creativity. So creativity, that's all it is.
And so just to kind of wrap up, I guess, what are some of the things you want? Because some people may just be logging on. Just some of the things that you want people to kind of take away from today's session
Yeah.
as we wrap up.
Your final takeaways.
Final takeaways. Yeah. So final takeaways. I just want everyone to understand that, you are not fixed. Who you are right now is a compilation of things that you heard from childhood, criticism and praise, your circumstances, your social environment, sometimes the country you live in, your socioeconomic status. That usually is not the core or the true you.
Mm,
So I encourage you to think beyond, the box that you're in, right? And to kind of do some self exploration in terms of personal development, learning and growing, understanding your personality type, and just not being afraid to keep an open mind about yourself and
mm,
the skills that you could learn and develop, because your excuses are valid, but now what are you going to do? Right, they're valid. Yes, we do live in a third world country. I did try to log onto a video today and it was not available in my country, and it's me on the video, right? I submitted it to something and then I went to watch it and it told me that I could not. It's not available.
right.
But now what are you going to do? You download a IP blocker, right? So you have to continuously try to evolve and don't get stuck in the excuses or the barriers, but look for the answers, because no matter what circumstance you're in, no matter how the hardship is that you are under, there's somebody else with your story who has been made a success, and there's somebody else who can give you insight into getting you across those hurdles. And
Mhm.
so just, you know, don't be hard on yourself in terms of what it is that, because this is 2020 was a horrific year for a lot of
Mm,
people.
Yeah.
Have patience with yourself. You're not fixed. There's any skill that you could learn. I know this is so cliche. If I could do it, anyone could do it. But no, literally, if I could do it, anyone can do it. And so I just want the takeaway to be, make an effort and take action. Done over perfect, and to kind of just strip away all of the noise and proceed in that. And my last parting point is, if you feel judged or if you are worrying about people judging you, right? A lot of times that's just a mirror reflect. It's because you, in some areas of your life, are judging people harshly as well, right? And so try to take away the judgment, because it makes it easier for you to grow and evolve. And remember that all of us are going to be gone one day. So do
Yeah.
mhm.
not let future, I know this sounds morbid, but do not let future dead people stop you from being alive and living your
Right.
passion, right?
That's
Because
good.
Yeah.
It's gonna
yeah,
be a status, Sassy.
we've only, I know it sounds terrible, but I really had that thought, because my dad passed recently, and so it
Mm,
really made me rethink a lot of perspectives. And so you have one life, you have one shot of it. He lived a very full life. He did, his passion. He also did what he had to do. He did all scopes of that. And so you have one chance and you might as well start today. And if you need encouragement, feel free to message me. If you need assistance or coaching, feel free to message me. That's no problem. I always give book recommendations for free as well.
mhm,
But yeah, just go ahead and take action and start today and commit to doing it for yourself, because nobody's going to do it for you.
Yeah.
And whatever you need, you can learn. But your excuses are valid. Now, what are you going to do?
mhm.
Yeah.
That
Good
is so good.
job,
That
Sassy.
is so good.
Thank
That
you.
is so
Wow.
good. So
Yeah.
Dazzy, we just
I
want to
like to
thank you.
talk, so jokes on my teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
very, very
talk
insightful
too
stuff,
much in
Dazzy.
class.
Mm,
Aha!
We put it to good use.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
I hope so.
mhm.
Yeah,
But Dazzy, we just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show.
thank you.
Yeah.
Of course, we've learned so much in this discussion today, and I hope the viewers have learned a lot as well. I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
And we just want to thank you again, because we know you're a busy person. And so for you to spare an hour just for us, we
Oh, it's
appreciate that so much.
scheduling. It's team scheduling.
Exactly. Yeah. You
Yes.
schedule us in for
Oh
4
yeah.
to 5.
Yes. Oh yeah. I was like, hey, hey,
Yeah.
hey, come look at this electric car. I gotta go. Right. Yeah, but no, thank you. It is an honor, and I'm very excited for the project you guys are doing, and I can't wait to see the topics you're going to discuss in the future. So congratulations on this. I think it's amazing, and I fully endorse you. And you're both great at what it is that you do. So I look forward to more episodes. Yeah. So I'm just thank you so much for the invite. I appreciate
Yes.
it so much.
Thanks
Thank you
again,
so much.
Dazzy. Thanks
And
again.
Yeah.
before we close out, I just wanted to give you a plug, Dazzy. Those who don't know, she just started her podcast. She
Hmm.
released her first one last
Hmm.
week.
Yes.
So go on her website and listen to it. It is amazing. And listen to it again. If you can give your website so they can go to it, Dazzy.
Right.
Sure. So it's dazzythedemi.com, DAZZYTHEDEMI.com. And someone just messaged me and asked what it means. Demi means half. It means that I don't feel like I've ever quite made it or I've arrived, right? It keeps me humble. It keeps me knowing that no matter what I do, there's more to achieve. So check it out, Dazzy, DAZZYTHEDEMI.com, and you will see the first podcast episode there, and the next one will drop tomorrow. So thank you so much for being on. I really
So
appreciate
tomorrow,
it.
Dazzy, what time tomorrow? Just so that people know.
Oh, look at David. I don't like David. Okay, so.
Well, I know that you have everything in your schedule, so you should know by now.
I am slacking off scheduled. Okay, so no, tomorrow by 12 o'clock it will be live because it does need editing as well. Okay. So I'm just gonna give some flexible time for that. So by 12 o'clock tomorrow, that will be up.
Yeah, we'll put all of your information in the description so that people can definitely check out the podcast because it is amazing, like Lauren said. So
thank you so much.
Thanks again, Dazzy.
Yeah, I had a great time.
We'll see you later then. And thanks again, guys, for tuning in as well.
Have a great Saturday.
Bye-bye.